Hi, John.
Yes,
Hey, John. This is Ryan Barry over at Mimecast. How's it going today?
doing well, Ryan. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. Doing good. Can't complain on a Friday. I know that you had sent over some requests to meet with us via our online channel, so it's much appreciated. I know that Jake had sent me some information. Again, my name is Ryan. I'm going to be your dedicated account manager here moving forward. So, like I said, I have a few notes from Jake, but typically the way I like to run these calls is just to do as much learning as I can about your organization, specifically surrounding your email environment. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to learn again as much as I can about the environment, and then we can take the conversation from there.
Sure, that sounds good. Um, so, a little bit about us. Again, I'm the IT director here at Taylor Morrison. We're a construction firm in Phoenix, Arizona. I've got about 500 employees or so in the organization that I'm responsible for managing the IT for. Um, in terms of what sort of prompted the outreach, I have looked at you guys previously. We migrated to Office 365 about 2 years ago now, and while it's been my goal to try and implement a third-party vendor in the past, we just haven't been in a position budget-wise to make a purchase. However, recently we did have an incident that sort of brought this to the forefront, and based on that, we've reached out. We've seen a lot of impersonation style attacks, specifically, that have increased in probably the last 3 to 6 months. And again, more specifically, we had an incident with somebody actually acting on one of these emails, and so it's top of mind now.
Understood. So I guess, John, if you could just describe for me a little bit more about, the content in that message. I know, as an IT director, I'm sure you can understand that, phishing and spoofing can be very, very broad. So in terms of the content of that message, what was the malicious actor asking for? Who were they going after? Who were they trying to spoof?
Sure. So in this particular case, it was an email that was impersonating our CFO. It was sent to one of our accounting team members. They had requested a wire transfer from this individual, and as a result, we ended up losing about $20,000. We weren't able to recover.
Okay, sorry to hear about that. I know it's always an unfortunate situation when that happens. So I know you mentioned you guys had migrated to Office 365 a few years ago. Have you invested in any sort of third-party secure email gateway, or is it sort of the out-of-the-box configurations of Microsoft?
Yeah, in terms of security, we're just using what we're getting with our E3 licensing.
Okay, so that would be probably the ATP that's included there.
Yeah, whatever
Advanced threat
Microsoft gives.
protection. Advanced
Yeah,
threat protection. Right.
that
Don't
sounds
mean to
right.
don't mean to throw an acronym at you. Okay. So again, I apologize for the unfortunate circumstance. In terms of anything else that you guys are seeing, I'm highlighting number one pain point of those impersonation style attacks. But has there been any situation where you guys have had an instance of an end user clicking on a URL where they might have entered their credentials, and not just that, but has any mailbox gotten compromised where emails have been sent outbound to customers, things like that?
Not to my knowledge, knock on wood, Ryan. We've seen some emails, some fake 365 type messages coming through, but to my knowledge, we've been fortunate in that we haven't had any sort of compromised accounts or anything like that.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And I guess in terms of, I'm sure you're very, very well aware, being an IT director in terms of just, protecting the organization from anything coming inbound. But in your space, being a construction company, we often see, industries like yours, especially in Texas. I've worked with a lot of construction companies, oil and gas, For whatever reason, Texas is very well known for those spaces. So oftentimes, malicious actors will go after your industry. Have you guys ever had any instance of customers or vendors you work with, being made aware of an email that might look like it's coming from you, and you have no idea where that's come from? Have you guys ever experienced anything like that?
Um, Personally, we have not seen it, although I have heard in my circles locally of some incidents of that happening. But to date, we haven't here at Taylor Morrison had something like that happen to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, no, like I said, I appreciate all the background, John. I think, I really want to dive in terms of what Mimecast can help with here, specifically surrounding the immediate need of the impersonation attack. So in terms of Mimecast, we've been around for about 20 years now. We've been very, very well known in the secure email gateway space, and a number of customers will come to us for these specific scenarios of, unfortunate instances of ransomware or folks wiring out money by a spoofed email. So that's, somewhere where we really play well. But again, over the past 20 years, there's been a long history of innovation here at Mimecast, because there's been a lot of things where, cybersecurity, as you know, it's ever evolving. Folks are getting more and more sophisticated in terms of a malicious actor, and we've seen, the need to come out with different sort of solutions over time. So what I wanted to get into here is just the overall email security framework that we have here at Mimecast, and we call it Email Security 3.0. So in terms of overall, looking at history, this has been around for a long, long time in terms of not just your anti-spam spam scanning solution, but diving into more of the advanced phishing, spoofing, zero-day business email compromise attacks, which it sounds like you guys are dealing with right now. So for a long, long time, Mimecast has been working to help our customers with a number of different pillars. For example, URL protection, attachment protection, and for the specific instance that you guys are going through right now, impersonation style attacks, where folks are getting emails that appear to be coming from the CFO, asking them to do wire transfers, direct deposit changes, even, hey, you guys did a great job this quarter, please go out and buy a bunch of iTunes gift cards. So this is really where we've, helped a lot of our customers over a long, long period of time. But more recently, again, folks getting more and more sophisticated in nature. There's been, a number of instances where, the inbound solution is fantastic in terms of being able to protect your environment from everything coming inbound. But we've had use cases of end users sending an email to another end user, and either on purpose or by accident, they send a URL or an attachment that's malicious, and then a internal breach can happen that way. So like I said, I know you mentioned that you haven't seen much of that going on, but I wanted to let you know, in terms of the conversation here with Mimecast, is that we can protect you guys 360 degrees in terms of east to west traffic. So we can help you guys out with inbound security, internal and outbound, in case there's any sort of internal breach situation there.
Got it. Okay.
How does that sound in terms of just, being in your space? Can you see that being a benefit to the organization?
Yeah, certainly. I'd say it's not something that we're getting an abundance of functionality with Office 365, and I'm not naive enough to think that nothing will ever make its way through. So the appetite to have a remediation capability and options to actually be notified of something that's already in the walls certainly helps.
Okay, excellent. And I guess one piece of the puzzle here that I haven't quite gotten into, but I wanted to ask you about, was just going to be, your overall philosophy and program in terms of any sort of awareness training. What are you doing to help, I guess, enable the end users to make, informed decisions?
Yeah. Currently, we don't have a formal awareness training platform in place. I've got a very lean IT staff here. It's actually only 3 people, myself and 2 of my administrators, handling all of the IT responsibilities for Taylor Morrison. So we do a monthly newsletter where we send out tips and tricks, things to look out for, any sort of pertinent email examples that we may have actually seen come in, to try and keep it top of mind with the employees. But obviously, considering what occurred, I think there's definitely an appetite to try and improve upon what we're doing today.
Sure. In terms of the overall sentiment, of these newsletters, do you find folks getting value from that, or do you think it's sort of one thing where, they consider it training, so it's something they don't necessarily pay attention to?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I'd like to think that people are reading it and bring it up whenever I'm in conversations with them in person, but I think clearly the proof is in the pudding, whether or not they're actually taking it to heart.
Sure. And in terms of just the overall, you guys are doing the appropriate action. So I applaud you guys for taking steps in enabling the end users, because as you know, the human firewall is just as important as securing, the gateway. So I applaud you guys for doing that, but sounds like it would be helpful if you guys had some reporting in terms of, who's actually taking this training seriously.
Yeah, I think that would certainly be helpful.
Okay. So I think there's definitely a way that we can help there, and I'll touch on this here throughout the conversation. Again, I'm sort of taking notes just so I can help to consult with the best solution here. But so moving on in terms of just the overall Mimecast email security 3.0 strategy. Like I mentioned, just to quickly summarize, at your perimeter, so making sure nothing's getting into you guys, inside your network and the organization, making sure that we can help to stop any sort of breach scenario internally, and enabling your end users to help secure that human firewall. But finally, we're doing a lot of things right now in terms of looking beyond your perimeter to help out specifically with your domain and your brand. So there's a few different ways that we could help the organization in terms of making sure that you guys have all the different reporting and forensics on your own domains, the ones that you own and the ones that you don't own, to make sure that you as an IT director have the best understanding of who is using your domain. For different CRMs, things like that, that's all well and good. It's totally okay to have emails being sent from a service like that, but you want to make sure that no malicious actors out there have access to your domain and are sending email on your behalf without your knowledge in a malicious manner. And then the same thing for domains that you guys might not own. We're seeing a lot of trends in the space where people are registering domains that might look like theirs and then sending email to their customers and their vendors and spoofing, their customers that way. So it's a very, very slippery slope, but thankfully Mimecast does have some capability in terms of being able to help secure the domains that you own and don't own.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I can't say we've looked too much into that side of things. I guess you would call it your beyond your perimeter. That definitely seems like a unique situation and something that I hadn't thought of. And obviously, my job is to keep up with the latest and greatest threats, and it's important to us as a business to select a third party that we feel is taking the steps to stay as current as possible with the threat landscape, as you said. Yeah. And it's certainly something that I should probably learn a little bit more about.
For sure. And I think it's really all about providing you as an IT director everything you need to help you sleep better at night. And I think one thing in terms of what I wanted to ask is just in terms of any sort of threat intelligence reporting, with the current advanced threat protection solution, are you getting any sort of insights in terms of what's out there? Do you have the ability to look outside your perimeter and, scope out what's happening from a malware I guess, geo-blocking level?
No, not really.
Okay. Okay. So that's certainly one piece that we try and enable our customers with as well, is providing them a threat intelligence dashboard where they can find out, where specifically are these threats coming from? Who in my organization is being targeted the most? That's really the information that we're looking to try and provide our customers with, especially with this beyond your perimeter level.
Okay.
Excellent. So to quickly just recap in terms of just the solutions behind Email Security 3.0, again, so looking at your perimeter, I think that this is certainly an area where Mimecast will be able to help you, specifically with the situation regarding the impersonation attack, where there was an unfortunate situation of somebody wiring out, some money. I think that immediately Mimecast will be able to help you guys out here. I know that you mentioned in terms of inside your network and the organization, you don't see much in terms of the overall, situation of an internal breach, but it sounded like you might have some interest in terms of, yourself seeing that being very, very important. And then, if you guys were interested in some more concrete, robust training, I wanted to dive into a little bit about how we could help you guys out with that. So, the awareness training platform here at Mimecast, again, one thing I wanted to mention that this is all embedded in one platform under our microservices tenant called MimeOS. So you can have all these services under one platform, and awareness training is one thing that a lot of our customers have found a lot of value in. So what you can do is you can send out a short module, again, 2 to 3 minute videos. They're funny, they're humorous. We work with a number of comedians out there to come out with seasons very similar to Netflix. And season 4 actually just dropped. And with the current environment of everyone working from home, we've actually come out with a few modules that are based around, the work from home environment. And the other thing too is phishing simulation testing. So if you guys would want to send out some phishing tests for your end users, specifically those who might be a bit more of a problem child, if you will. Mimecast, the secure email gateway, is going to give you all of the reporting you need in terms of who's clicking on the most malicious links. So if you guys want to provide some phishing simulation testing to those users, you can certainly do so.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, fantastic. And then again, just moving on quickly to the beyond your email security perimeter. The global threat intelligence, like I mentioned, providing you guys a dashboard of where these threats are coming from, brand and domain protection, and proactive risk hunting. So in terms of just being able to look beyond the perimeter. I know that right now, this might be a bit more advanced for your space, but keep in mind that you can always start with any of our platforms here at Mimecast, and then you guys can upgrade at any time. You guys will have a dedicated Mimecast customer development manager. So in terms of just the overall scope of this engagement, I have a few ideas that might make sense that I'd love to share with you.
Yeah, that sounds good. Please do.
Okay, fantastic. So in terms of just moving on from the email security 3.0 framework here, this is our entire set of solutions here at Mimecast. As you can see there on the left, you're going to have your email security 3.0 plans for your organization, and I'll dive into that. But as you can see there on the right, we have a number of extensions as well. So if you guys are having any sort of issue with Office 365 downtime, I know you guys mentioned you guys migrated to O365 about 2 years ago. Not sure if you guys have had any sort of instances where there's been downtime there, but Mimecast can act as a proxy server if there's any sort of downtime. So you guys can still send or receive email if Office 365 is unfortunately down. I know in construction, email is everything that you guys need to communicate. So there's solutions like that. Web security to DNS level, even archiving for any sort of governance and compliance. But I know for this conversation, we're mainly focused around the email security 3.0 plans. So I wanted to quickly run through that for you here. So in terms of what I want to propose, John, I think that This could be a great plan for the organization in terms of what the immediate need is. The secure email gateway and the targeted threat protection suite encompasses our perimeter defense plan. So this is going to give you guys access to our impersonation protection, our URL protection, our attachment protection, and then also on the outbound side is going to include DLP, content examination, even stationary and disclaimer management if you guys wanted to manage your email signatures. But I think in terms of this overall call, one thing that we might mutually agree is a good addition to the perimeter defense plan is going to be the internal email protection and our awareness training. In case you guys wanted to get more granular in terms of the awareness training strategy and provide you guys all of that reporting. Also being able to protect your organization from all east to west traffic, inbound, internal, and outbound. If you guys wanted to, I can always help to provide some pricing in terms of these two plans. And then also, I wanted to mention that we are, we charge per user per year. So this would be encompassing of that strategy. But if you guys had any interest in the Zone 3 protection for our DMARC analyzer and brand exploit protection, I can do a quick scope of your domains that you would like to protect and provide you some pricing there.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think the Zone 1 and Zone 2 probably covers our bases specific to this project scope, but I do like the idea of the additional features as we kind of get our bases covered and look to try and increase our security down the road.
Excellent. Excellent. So I guess, John, I'll sort of leave it up to you in terms of what makes sense here as a next step. Oftentimes, we're more than happy to schedule an hour-long conversation with an engineer. I'd love to be able to go through the perimeter defense plan with you, showcase how Mimecast can help stop from those advanced phishing and spoofing attacks, and then also show you the end user side of things. Make sure that you guys are comfortable with the way that Mimecast can interact. We're actually a gold partner of Microsoft, so we have a Mimecast for Outlook plugin where your end users can interact with their spam quarantine. They can release and reject on their own, taking a lot off of your plate in terms of all the stuff I'm sure they're asking you to do.
Yeah, actually, that brings up a good point, Ryan, and something that maybe I could have mentioned sooner. So, as case in point, the biggest concern obviously is preventing what happened from happening again. But, I think it's important to know when we're evaluating a cloud-based email security solution, it's really important to us that we have something that's easy to implement and maintain. As I mentioned, I got a very small team here, and we just don't have the bandwidth to be burdened with a product that's going to require an excessive amount of maintenance or administration. As it stands today, our day is packed basically as the spearhead for all incoming emails and going through spam messages and quarantine. So ideally, I would really like a solution that also integrates seamlessly with 365 and provides our employees a bit of a better experience when it comes to things like accessing their spam quarantine or reporting suspicious emails.
Sure.
And I think you mentioned an Outlook plugin. Could you kind of talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So in terms of how the Mimecast for Outlook plugin works, I wanted to mention one thing too, is that I work with a number of different lean IT organizations, as we call them here. I've often had customers tell me that, I ask how big your team is, and they say, well, I just look in the mirror. So I totally understand where you're coming from. In terms of the overall implementation, we can give you guys a dedicated Mimecast implementation engineer to help walk through the entire process. And we also have out-of-the-box configurations with specifically our perimeter defense plan and the internal email protection. So we can help you guys out in terms of getting Mimecast up and running quickly. In terms of the Mimecast for Outlook plugin, it's really great in terms of giving the end users the access to do a number of different things. If you guys prefer to have a digest message, that can be sent out. It can be sent out whenever and how frequently you want it to. But if your end user knows that something is in their inbox, and they can go ahead and access that in real time via their on-hold queue. They can dive in there and get a full picture preview of that message, not just letting them know what is in the quarantine, but they can get a full picture preview. They can decide whether or not they want to hold that, whether or not they want to release it. They can permit the messages, they can permit the domain, and then they can also manage their own senders. So what's great is that per user basis, they can manage the emails and the domains that they want to receive email from and block out the ones they don't. So the good thing is that we have a 99.5% anti-spam SLA. So obviously spam is subjective. One man's trash can be another man's treasure, but it allows them to do all that work on their own and takes it all off your plate.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Excellent. And yeah, in terms of just, obviously the goal here is to help filter out all the malicious email from the environment. The Mimecast for Outlook plugin is specific to Graymail, things like marketing newsletters. I'm sure you've gotten a few emails from vendors you don't want to hear from a few times. You might find those in the spam, but they will never, the malicious emails will never be in that. It'll just be, the marketing type emails where they can decide. And it is per individual mailbox. So just because somebody doesn't want something doesn't mean that policy will be delivered for the whole organization. It's basically per user. And then you and your team, if you guys put in a blacklist or a whitelist into the platform, that supersedes anything that the end users want to either accept or deny.
Okay, great.
Awesome, John. Well, is there anything else that I can help with in terms of this initial conversation?
No, Ryan, this was very helpful. I think a demo would definitely make sense. If you have some availability, I'll try and get my two guys on the next call.
All right, excellent. Well, I'll go ahead and follow up here online with you. I'll send over a few times that we have available, and then we can coordinate with our teams.
Okay, Ryan, that sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Click, click.
Click, click.
Good job, man. You were the only one that did a PowerPoint, so kudos to you. And I think the visual really does help. I'm not a huge PowerPoint